Hi, it's so good to be with you guys. As you can see, we have some very special guests with us today. This is your name?
Adonai.
And how old are you?
12, almost 13.
13 next week. And then we have
Nehemiah.
And how old
14.
are you? 14. All right.
He's smart. He knew what the second question was.
Right. So we are super excited to have Nehemiah and Adonai with us today because we are going to be talking to your kids about dating and relationships, right? This was a question that was sent to us by a mom who has teens or preteens, like 11-year-old. And she said, how do I talk to my kids about dating? And so Nathanael and I were working on getting our notes together. And I said, you know what if we just pull Nehemiah and Adonai in here and we're going to ask them some questions and things. But we will jump into that in just a second. But I do want you to know, we'll talk about how to talk to our kids about dating. We have a program already out there. It's how to talk to your kids about sex and sexuality. And you can purchase that on our website at www.thehomemadefamily.com. And it's $18 and it gets you access to a private Facebook group that has 5 hours of teaching plus a couple of downloads, like some recommended books and some age appropriate guides, how to talk to them at each stage about those things. So with that, we are going to jump in to our topic today.
Yay.
Yep.
Yay. You want to start us, Nathanael?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, so we were talking about, we're just going to start by asking Nehemiah and Adonai what they think about dating. Which one of you wants to go first? What do you think about dating?
Ladies first. Adonai, go ahead. What do you think about dating?
I don't know.
That's not what you told us
That's not what you
beforehand.
said
No, that's what I said to this question.
Okay.
What
What if a guy wanted to date you?
No,
Okay.
not now.
Okay. Nehemiah, what do you think about dating?
Not time yet. Not
It's
ready.
not time
It's
yet.
kind of pointless at this point. Just
Mm-hmm.
it's still 4 years before I'm technically legally an adult and allowed to marry legally.
Mm-hmm.
And
As a bare minimum.
as a bare minimum.
Yeah.
And then from there,
Yeah, it's
I don't know.
pointless to date at this point
It's pointless
Please.
to date at this point. Now, why would you say that?
because dating is for seeing who you're gonna marry, and we're not able to do that for a long time.
well,
Okay.
it's for really looking into and
Yeah.
getting to know the person you want to marry. It's always good to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to what?
I don't know, just
Talk loud so they can hear you.
sorry. It's always good to just pay attention to who's quality and who is actually worth marrying and
Who's the marrying type?
who's the marrying type. Yeah.
Mhm. That's great.
So-
Go ahead.
Well, so you're saying it's so we've actually done a little bit of an exercise every now and then, just periodically throughout the kids' kind of preteen lives. It's been over the last, 4 years or so. We have just asked this question every now and then, who around you that potentially shows spouse potential. Not trying to start a relationship, not trying to stir up any affection or romantic anything towards any of those people, but just trying to develop that lens for what you'd actually look for in a spouse, asking those questions and that kind of thing. So just asking, what people do you see around you that maybe actually could have spouse potential? Right. So in those conversations, what sort of qualities have you guys kind of listed as things that would be worth looking for?
Loving God first and foremost.
Just tell them we're in the middle of the call.
All right.
I'm getting interruptions from other siblings. So sorry.
Right. Okay. So Adonai, repeat that.
Loving God mostly.
Okay. So that's one of the criteria. That's really good.
Anything else?
honesty and just, I don't know, generally a good person. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
specific qualities.
How about you, Nehemiah? What have you kind of listed as, like, if you're looking at spouse qualities, like what is worth looking for? What do you look for in somebody who's worth, like, choosing as a spouse?
I don't know. First thing that comes to mind is faithfulness. Faithful.
Okay.
Yeah. How would you see that in their life?
I don't know.
Like, how would you know that they are a faithful person?
Probably just in how they manage their relationships with others.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's going to look different if they can, I don't know, if they're trying to, if there's pursuit sort of,
It's good.
they're interested in keeping a friendship.
Hey, oh, sorry, I'm not. Just by the way, for everybody watching this, if you've got questions or comments, like, you can direct them at Nehemiah and Nathanael also. And we'll give them a shot at it. They might not have answers, and that's totally fine.
And please know, we did not like rehearse this or pre-record.
No,
this is like on the fly. We
All of
have
this is-
notes that we were going to go over, and we're like, wait a minute, what if we just had Nehemiah and I on? So they're doing great, and we are going to cover some other stuff. But yeah, just let us know if you have questions.
You guys are doing a great job.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah. So sorry, Nathanael, what were you going to say?
Another thing that I was gonna say is just them being confident in themselves and like not needing to be dating or like being needy. Like, they are enough in themselves, and that like,
That's a really great answer. So I have another question then. If you're looking at what makes a quality would make somebody a quality spouse, then what do you feel like are things that you should be working on in this season in order to be ready to date? What would make you feel like you were ready for a relationship?
being older.
Being older, that's the first thing. That's good.
Not being 12.
Yes.
Right.
I don't know. I think there's something of just, when you're ready.
You know when you're ready. Okay.
I don't know. And then at the same time, there's this aspect of, if you wait till you're ready, it's never going to come. Never going to happen.
There's truth to both sides of that, for sure.
I mean, I was literally talking to a sibling about this earlier in other contexts, but it's like, I'll do it when I'm ready. And I'm like, nope.
Yep. So one of the questions that we asked them before was, when you see somebody who might look kind of nice, or when you're hanging out with other teens, or somebody's kind of flirting or attracted to you, what do you think about that? When you walk in a room and there's other people, are you thinking about dating?
No,
Why aren't you thinking about dating?
because it's not
It's just
time
not
yet.
something I think about.
It's not something that you think
Right.
about,
It's not a priority. Like, not what I think about.
right?
Yeah. I don't even know another way to put it.
All right. So great to hear their perspectives. Thanks, Chris.
Okay.
All right. I'm
Someone
trying
is
to.
spamming our
right.
comments.
Okay. So it's not something that you think about. And why is it not? What internal structures, or what is helping to shape and guide that choice for you besides just your age? What is, you said the goal of dating is to see if you're ready for marriage.
Right. Even that by itself, I was going to circle back to that and point that out, that as soon as we said, why not start dating at 12? And you said, well, because dating is for this.
Mhm.
And there was a purpose you guys had in mind. Like, where do you guys, like, what values is that coming from? Or what conversations have we had that have built that as kind of your default response to that?
I don't know. So my thought would be just sort of the way we live and just the general value system we have. I don't know.
Yep. Go ahead. I'm just trying to manage some comments. That's
Yep.
all.
So I think that it would be good for us to just share now some of the things that we have talked to Nehemiah and Adonai about over the years and why it is that then our kids feel this way about dating. In fact, I have kind of a funny story. Hopefully Adonai is okay. I won't name any names, but we were going to have some people over to our house and she didn't know who they were. And I was like, oh, you don't know this guy? Like he's cute and he plays worship. I will definitely introduce you to this kid. And she's like, Mom, I'm 12, you know? So here I'm the one kind of being the cute flirty thing. And she's like, no, Mom, here's the thing. And it's so fun to see that my kids will even give me pushback on this because they know better. It's kind of like, hopefully no kids are listening and I'm not going to ruin this, but we never told our kids that there was a Santa. And so now whenever we're like, Santa's coming, don't you want to go see Santa? My kids are like, Mom, stop being so ridiculous. There's no Santa. And so it's good that even when I am like kind of trying to tease about like this cute teen or that cute teen, they have really good boundaries, really good self-awareness. And they're like, yeah, not really, Mom. Let's just not go there yet. So I think that's really awesome. Speaks well of the character and some of the training that we've done. And Nehemiah, even beforehand, we talked about like, guard your heart. That was one of the things that came out of your mouth was guard your heart. And what do you think it looks like to guard your heart around other teens and especially teens of the opposite sex for you guys?
Like, don't chase something before it's time. I don't know, like kind of what we've said before is just, I don't know.
That's good.
You had some great comments on this in like a conversation we had in the car that just you and me, we were driving someplace.
Do you remember some of that?
And we were talking through some of these things. When we were on the way home from Faith's Play. Yeah. And you were kind of like, well, you know, I had a crush on so-and-so that once upon a time, but then I realized like, this is silly. And like, so what was it that you realized was kind of silly about it versus what you would see as something of genuine weight in like, oh yeah, there's actually a real relationship potential there?
Because I was too young and like I don't know, like what I've said before, like there's no point in it before you're older.
I feel like we say that, we've been saying that repeatedly. Why is it too young? And let's just fast forward 6 years and you're 18. And what then, like, how does that change about dating then? You know, because we, you know what I'm saying? What principles would you guide people with at that point?
Well, like make sure who you're dating is worth it. But for not dating too young, like you save yourself for marriage. And if you date younger or like you start letting yourself do that younger, then there's a higher chance like you're letting your heart get attached and you don't want to lose yourself, like
giving your heart out more freely.
And I mean practicing restraint when you're younger just helps make wiser decisions when you're older and are able to make bigger choices and stuff.
That's good.
What were you going to add, Nehemiah?
Just managing, like watching your desires, like something that we apply, that applies to a lot more than just this, from like everything from food to TV to dating and marriage. And
What we call, go ahead. What we call managing appetites, managing desires. When you learn to manage small things, it helps you to manage the big things like this.
Saying no to habits. Saying no to that second helping of dessert helps you say no when your sex drive is saying yes.
It's great. And then I was just going to circle back then to that question about guarding your heart, or when you do come into an environment where you're at youth group or there's other teens and people around, like both of you kind of said this, that it's not even a thought in your mind
Mm-hmm.
when you walk into a room to be like, who's cute or who could I date? It
Yeah.
just isn't even a thought in your mind, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because you've made decisions already that it isn't time and you're not
Mhm.
ready. And we're just not even going to open that door, which I think Adonai
Yeah.
talked about that a little bit. Like, hey, the Song of Solomon talks about don't arouse or awaken love until it's the right time. And so
Right.
when you
Yeah.
guys already have the guards up over your heart and the guards up over your mind, because the purpose of dating is for marriage, then that helps you to make the decision in this season to not date, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't even become a thought in your mind.
Yeah.
That's good.
And one question that I have as a follow-up to some things you guys have said a number of times is like looking for somebody who's worth it. And I know we have kind of tried to ask this question a few different ways, but I want to just ask it again. Like, how would you recognize someone who is worth it? Chris says, so good on managing appetites, so critical to follow Christ and know his will.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So what would you guys kind of say? Like, okay, I mean, because so far, like, I feel like a lot of what we've just said is, what about dating? Don't.
Yeah.
And
And that's not it.
that's
Yeah,
limited
that-
help. That's
Mhm.
limited in how
Yeah.
helpful it really is. Because we're not trying to say don't date.
Yeah.
We're trying to help set our kids up for success.
Yeah.
And pretty soon we'll probably let Nehemiah and I go, and Amy and I'll just kind of finish up in some of the things that we've taught and what are some of the foundational mindsets that have led to some of these things and conversations we've had up to this point. But just to, this would be my last question for you guys anyway,
Mhm.
is just, again, like, okay, how would you know someone might be worth dating?
Have you asked yourself, what are the key things that you would look for as somebody that would be quality spouse?
I think kind of what I said before, like loving God. Character, I don't know really how to define that, but like just you see that they actually think about their choices and have some of the same values as you do. How they treat their parents and family, like
Treat people in authority.
mhm.
That's good. Nehemiah, a couple things from you.
I don't know. Sort of starts with what qualities would I want in a friend, because like if I'm going to marry someone, obviously they're more than just a friend.
Right.
So
Mhm.
if I wouldn't hold them, like if I don't hold them to the same standards, like
It would start with that, and then
Yeah.
what maybe would be some qualities that would go above that?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it that much.
Because dating's not even on your
Yeah.
grid. Right.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Right. Not on the grid that we didn't even.
Yeah.
Haven't dug that deep yet.
Yeah.
So
And which
Yeah.
is totally
I
fine.
haven't done
And
that deep yet.
no, which is totally fine.
which is good.
Absolutely
Honestly,
does.
you might as well just not even in this
Yeah.
season, or maybe it is time to start thinking about that, because in a couple
Probably.
more years, you might be wanting to
Yeah.
know those things. Hey, I want to give just a huge thank you to Nehemiah and Adonai for being so brave and willing to come on here. But the other thing I just, maybe one more question is, because a lot of parents might be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you have teenagers sitting there live on Facebook, YouTube, whatever, having a conversation about dating with their parents. So what do you guys feel like is maybe a key to your comfort in relationship with us in having the conversation?
Just pursue throughout our entire lives. Like
Pursuing what?
Pursuing what?
just the ability to have connection.
All right. Good connection.
But this isn't well,
Thanks,
and being
Chris.
proactive on like in talking about it and having the conversations and sort of starting it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. How long do you feel like we've been talking about sex and dating and marriage and relationships?
I have no idea.
Years?
Years. Your entire life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This really has started since they were little and
Mhm.
has just kind of continued to morph and grow as we've reached different ages and stages of life.
Starting with the conversations, no, you can't marry your mom. No, you can't marry your sister. No, you can't marry your brother.
Right.
Like those kinds of conversations, even when they're like 3. But yes, I mean, those kinds of conversations can start even way back then when it's obvious answers to obvious questions. But you can start asking those questions even then, like, oh, you know what? Like, you can't marry mommy. She's already married. Sorry. We can only marry unmarried people.
Not related to you.
And people who are not related to you. And you can start shaping a filter for who your kids even consider as potentials, at even super, super young.
Yeah, that's great. You're laying boundaries and foundations and a value for marriage and covenant and even just, like you don't go to somebody else's person, things like that.
Yeah.
Respecting boundaries.
Exactly.
Nehemiah and Adonai, just one more quick. Do you have any parting shots either to the teens who might be listening to this or to parents who might be wanting to have these conversations with their teens? What would you encourage parents to do with their teens or young kids about having conversations about this? Hi, Annalie. Glad you made it.
Glad you're not too buried in snow.
Right. All right.
I don't know.
All right. You can think for just a second. Suzanne says they're so secure in their family relationships, they aren't looking elsewhere for love and validation. That's so good too. Like they aren't in lack in the area of love. I don't know. Are you in lack?
Yeah.
They get so much of that, at home that they're not out there searching for it. That's really a good point, Suzanne. Thanks for pointing that out. And then Kira also said, "What a wise answer." That was earlier in the show. I just wanted to call that out too. So, all right. Do you guys have advice for parents? What would help their team in the area of dating?
I don't know, just sort of being proactive and having conversations.
Being proactive and having conversations.
Yeah, making sure your voice is the first voice versus school or peers.
Yeah.
That
That's
was a
really
good
good.
one.
Yep.
So what Adonai just said, we call the first fruits.
First mention.
First mention.
Not first mention.
Not first fruits. That's a different thing. But the principle of first mention is whoever talks to you about a subject first will seem to you the greatest authority on that subject. And you'll measure everything else you hear about that subject against what the first person told you. So we have intentionally worked to stay ahead of wherever else our kids might be learning these subjects from. And so that we could stay the authority that continues to guide them and lay the foundation and build on it according to God's principles instead of worldly wisdom.
Yes, that's great. And then what Nehemiah said, like, be proactive in having the conversations. And so, I'm sure sometimes our kids are a little bit like, roll your eyes and get tired. Like, we're going to have this conversation again. Like, I've got it, but at the same time, you guys really are receptive to having conversations. I think that your teens do want to hear these things. They want to hear like what makes a good and healthy, happy marriage. Do you think mom and dad have a good marriage?
Yes.
Do we kiss too much? Anyway, it's good for them to see it modeled. So we have some good insights and we can help them. But let's give Nehemiah and Adonai a hand. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. And we appreciate your feedback and insights. And if anyone has any follow-up questions for them and you're watching this later, go ahead and post them. And I will, maybe we'll have these guys on again next week for a follow-up. We'll see if there's enough questions and comments. Otherwise,
okay doing it.
It hasn't been too torturous.
Not too torturous. Okay. Annalise says, yay, teens. Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome.
You guys are awesome.
What's up, guys? All right. You guys can head out. I'm going to move up front.
And then we'll talk about, some of the things that you did hear them say and how we have purposely and intentionally done that. Just what a couple of key items of conversations to have. So,
Yep. So the main thing in all of that that you probably heard come through over and over again was what's the point of dating? What's the reason for it? Why do we even do it? And I think a lot of things in life in general, we just don't even ask what is the purpose or what's the goal? What are we hoping to accomplish through this sort of thing? And so I think dating is super important for us to ask that question about, because if we don't, then what we end up resorting to is that this is just an outlet for hormonal urges. Like we have a sex drive and we're attracted to people. And so we find an outlet for that. And obviously, if you're trying to save sex for marriage, that's a dangerous place to be. Or it's just through any of the things that can happen that lead you to feel an emotional connection with somebody. I used to do drama stuff, like be in plays, and invariably I would get a crush on somebody I was in a play with. And the only reason was because we had a common pursuit for a period of time. And as soon as we didn't have a common pursuit anymore, I'd stop having a crush. And it's like, we can have those kinds of things that cause an emotional bond to form. But that doesn't mean that this is actually something like, oh, I feel an emotional bond, therefore I should act on it. That's just following your feelings and emotions can be really bad counselors. So we've got to actually have something deeper than that that's guiding us into our dating relationships, and having a vision for what the purpose of those relationships is a great boundary to start with.
That's all really good stuff. So yeah, just giving your kids clear vision, just even asking them, what do you think the purpose of this is? Why would you do this? Are you ready to be married now? That's something that we do ask our kids. Like, are you ready to support somebody financially? Are you ready to be a parent? Are you ready to do these things? Well, if not, then what's even the point of dating? And the kids have gotten that,
Right.
I mean, goodness, 14. I had probably 5 boyfriends by the time I was 14. And
I didn't have that many girlfriends, but I definitely had that many crushes.
Right. And we do talk to them about crushes too, like it's okay to have a crush, but then when they do, what do you do with those feelings and those emotions?
What's the actual substance of that?
Yep.
And one of the things we try to differentiate is between the difference between crushing on somebody and actually loving them. Because love means I'm committed to you for your best benefit. Like, I am going to serve you. I am going to benefit you. I am going to cheerlead you. I am going to launch you into purpose and calling and destiny. Like, I'm going to champion you. It looks like I'm laying my life down for you. And that's a whole lot different than I'm crushing on you. One is actually love, and the other, at its root, if we're honest, I'm sorry for this, but it's actually there's elements of selfishness in it. It's not entirely selfish. I'm totally crushing on my wife, and she's totally crushing on me. But you have to have the undergirding of the actual substance in it in order for there to be real relationship there.
Yeah. And that's a great point. That's another thing that we talk about with the kids is like, dating and marriage isn't just about like, ooh, I get to go fulfill my sexual urges. It really is about laying your life down and serving. Right. And so keeping that in front of them also is just really great.
Annalise says, ooh, the difference between crushing and loving. So good.
So good. And it helps the kids put their feelings in perspective, that when they do have these feelings of crushes, which are totally normal and good, and we talk to them about that.
And we're not intimidated by them.
No. But it also then they have the filter to ask those questions themselves.
Yep.
When they enter into that place.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whereas, oh, I'm attracted to somebody, therefore I must start a relationship. Or, oh, I'm crushing on somebody, therefore I'm going to pursue this. Like, then they can actually they're equipped then to actually make choices.
Laughing is laying yourself down. Great lines for loving. Yeah.
Loving is laying yourself down. Yes. Well, laughing. Hey,
that's good too.
Yeah.
All good. Yes. We got the interpretation.
Yes.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
All right.
We are out of time.
Yeah, I was going to say parting shot, Nathanael, or anything.
So my parting shot would just be to try to encourage everybody who's out there. This, Amy and I, partly, we wanted to bring Nehemiah and Adonai in because we were so struggling with the notes, because honestly, they were kind of heavy because they're so countercultural, and we it's like it's flipping dating on its head. and we wanted to bring it in and make it more approachable and things like that. And so if this is completely new and different perspective on dating and whatever else with this, please just hear again, we're not against dating. It's just keep it in its context where it can actually be healthy and appropriate. And it's not just giving your heart out to a whole bunch of people or test driving things or putting yourself in bad situations where you're going to be tempted to have sex with lots of people or even one person in an inappropriate context.
Yeah, we definitely talk about the damage of that also. Like, hey, if you're going to be giving your heart away to everybody, what does that leave of who you are? You know, and
Right.
we talk to them about
And what does it leave to give to your spouse
to your
someday?
spouse? Yeah, and what makes somebody else dateable? Hey, how's that working in your own life? You know,
Yep.
like, so that they're working on themselves and they're
Right.
thinking about that and making themselves into a marryable
Dear
person.
4 sons of mine, your sister would never be interested in someone who spent their entire life playing video games.
Right? So let's develop some other things.
Well,
anyway,
yes.
I think this is great. It was so good to have our teens on. And I just wanted you to hear that there is hope and you
Absolutely.
can have these conversations with your teens, and your teens,
Yeah.
they might be a little embarrassed by some things, but they will
But
engage
push
with
through
you.
it. They will love that you actually care.
Yep. And they need that guidance. And
Yes.
so it's so good. But I just want to put this out there again for anyone that didn't catch the beginning of the show. Nathanael and I did 5 hours of teaching. It's all in a private Facebook group on talking to your kids about sex and sexuality. We have like a 25-page resource guide on
Age-appropriate conversations.
age-appropriate conversations from birth all the way up to, you know, marriageable age, and some of the things that we've talked about and done with them. We also have a book resource guide, like how to have the sex conversations.
Different resources we've used to help us have those conversations with our kids.
Yep. And I would say that too, just a reminder that no conversation is one and done. It's ongoing. It's through the years.
For
it's
sure.
You know, we keep coming back to it.
Yep.
And so that's what we've got about how to talk to your kids about dating, or talking to your kids about dating. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
And we look forward to seeing you next week. All right. God bless you.
Bless you guys.
Bye.
Bye.